friends, it's Jenny. I am going to play with my new Didi's Beads box today. It's called Fall Fever, and it has some really fun beads. I've got a bunch of them out on my mat right now. And I was thinking about it. I hadn't done a bracelet trio with Didi's Beads since like July. And this box felt like a perfect opportunity to do kind of like more of a themed or story type of bracelet trio rather than just, you know, the blending of different concepts. And so I'm going to go ahead and do a bracelet trio with this. I'm going to start with mostly green tones. There's going to be copper throughout, mostly green tones, little splashes of like the oranges and the reds, and then go into like the more vibrant center bracelet for like the full fall foliage colors, and then settle into some more of the browns and neutrals with touches of the little glimmers of the colors that are just, you know, lingering just a little bit at the end of the fall season. So it'll be like a transition from like deep summer, a very verdant deep summer, into and through autumn. So that's my plan for my, because I always use magnetic clasps so that they can be worn as convertible jewelry. And I thought I would use these ones. They are floral, but that's okay. There are flowers in the fall as well, just not this shape. But, or maybe there are. Some of my floral friends. Are there any floral flowers that are, or fall flowers that are this shape? I thought that that would go well, mainly because of the color. I didn't want to just use some of my basic gold or silver magnetic clasps for it this time. I'm not sure yet if this is going to work with my concept. If it does, I'll put it in that central bracelet. But for the most part, this is just going to be gently playing with the colors, these fall colors, and just kind of see where it goes. I have a general idea what I want to do for each bracelet. I know about how long I need each one to be. And I'm going to use some of my new favorite nephrite jade, which I love. And there's some bamboo here. I have more of each of these beads in the box if I really start to use one in a design and it runs low. But this should be enough to get us started. If I'm stringing that middle bracelet and not really feeling this, then I will move it out and just focus on the colors that are here. So this is a maybe. I love it. I don't know if I love it for this design. We'll see. I'm going to be stringing on soft flex beading wire, medium beading wire. This is the fluorite color. I'm probably going to use the same color throughout. It's a really nice soft neutral green. And it is one of my favorite beading wire colors. It's only going to show a little bit through some of these beads. Mostly we're going to be seeing it near the clasps and the ends. So since those are consistent, I wanted my beading wire to be consistent. But this is neutral enough to go with the brown tones and the warmer tones and look good. For tools, we're going to be using some flesh cutters, the magical crimper, because I'll be doing crimps on all of these guys, and I've got my soft flex crimp tubes for that. And then for opening and closing jump rings, I have my casual comfort pliers set. I've got flat nose and chain nose pliers. I don't have my round nose out because I don't plan on making any loops today. These are just going to be bracelets, and we're just going to have some fun with it. See where the beads on the string take us. I like to work from the middle of my bracelet if I have some type of focal. Since I don't really, at least not for, like I might for the middle one, but both of the end ones I won't. I'm probably just going to start with one side and what I think will look nice and go from there. So I'm going to move some of these up in a way. I know that I'm not going to use any of the taupe crystals. I don't know if they're called taupe. I had the list right here just a second ago. They are, yeah, taupe. I was right on that color. So I know I'm not going to use any of those crystals on the first bracelet. I might use some of the bamboo wood chips, but I'm still going to move them up where they're just, where I can grab them if I want to add them in to kind of bring in that earthiness, because that earthiness exists in, you know, a a deep, verdant, rich summer too. So I'm going to move these other ones off to the side just so I'm not dragging things around through it. I love this rice bead mix. They're going to be making an appearance probably in all 3 bracelets in various ways. I have a lot of green to choose from. It's possible that these crystals will work into a later bracelet, and I focus on the jade for this one. I really am loving this jade, maybe with a few little pops with these small pear-shaped crystals to add in some of the other colors, and then also warm it up with some of these heishis. They're wavy disc heishis in an antique copper. I'm gonna move my magnets out of the way because they're gonna just want to attach to everything. So I'm getting this open, getting my heishis on the mat because I plan on using them fairly liberally. I did look at my stash to see if there were any other spacers or decorative beads I wanted to add. I didn't really find a whole lot that intrigued me, but I do have these that look like coiled wire, or it also could have a little bit more of an organic look, like growing grass or stalks or hay that's been collected and baled. So maybe I'm not totally sold on that. So we'll kind of see how it goes. So I think I'm actually going to start with one of these little guys just because I don't have a lot of small beads to begin and end my patterns without getting into my stash and getting seed beads. And I'm not really feeling seed beads for this one. But that one's just fine to start with. And I'm just going to start playing with how do these spacers look between various beads. Like if I do a couple of these, just kind of seeing how it looks. Getting a little bit of like I said, we're gonna have touches of the orange tones in this one. I might even do some chips. Again, I'm auditioning it on my strand. The different tones of green, because these are a lighter, the bamboo beads are a little bit lighter green. I think it's time to work in another one of our warmer tones. This is going to be a good spot for it. Maybe we put in one of these. Just a little pop. A hint of... So there's some variation. I mean, I could fill this whole bracelet with the green and probably be happy, but I feel like I need to give it room to breathe so that you can see really how pretty it is. And yeah, I think I'm not going to use the green crystals on this one. I want my green to be the jade, because it's beautiful. So after my unboxing, I was so in love with this. I'm like, I'm gonna go look this up, because there's a lot of gemstones that are being marketed as jade right now that actually aren't. But this is absolutely not one of those. It is one of only 2 types of stone that are legitimately called jade, and the other one is the jadeite that everybody knows, and this Canadian jade, or Canadian nephrite jade, or there was another name. It's in British Columbia, and I feel like I'm missing a thing there. I think going straight into that one is probably a mistake. Let me fix this because it felt incomplete. I needed to finish bracketing that. Then maybe do this thing. But it's in British Columbia, and the jadeite that, you know, most of us think of as like the natural Asian jade or Chinese jade, that that is formed with cool temperatures, but the Canadian jade is formed with hot temperatures. It's like where there's volcanoes and the pressure and everything for it. So it's really cool. So this is legitimately jade, one of the only two acknowledged. You can actually call this jade and it's correct. Instead of, you know, there's like Peace Jade and Malaysian Jade. Like Peace Jade is serpentine. Malaysian Jade is dyed quartz. There's several that they'll say jade, but it's not actually jadeite or this Canadian jade. So I thought that was really cool. So I learned something about it. This one's legit, guys. I know there's that's why I mentioned it, because a lot of our friends are subscribers to Bargain Bead Box, and that's one of the things that Lauren Fenty is really good about describing, is that she'll always put jade in quotation marks when it's, you know, one of those that's marketed as jade. So it's something that I had been aware of, that was just kind of common practice lately. I'm kind of liking this. This is kind of what I've got so far. This is what I wanted to do, where there's like little hints of the warmer tones and the earthy tones, but this is definitely like the beginning of that transition for fall. And that is making me very happy. And it's using these beautiful stones that I've just, I need more of them. Stella, send me more. I'm definitely going to be keeping my eye open for these stones. They're really cool. Oh, and good news. Unlike, well, I guess bad news if you didn't get yours yet, but unlike last month when, because of all the tariff stuff and additional costs, deterred some customers, all of the November boxes have sold. So congratulations to Didi Beads, to Stella. That's exciting, and I was really happy to see that today. So I'm just putting these on. It's just a gently repeating pattern. You can see here, like where it's the beginning of the bracelet, I put more of those jadeite together, or jade. I keep saying jadeite. These are the Canadian jade. I put more of them together, but it's part of that transition. But then I'm doing this kind of pattern where it's like 2 jade with a chip between, and then a bamboo, and then the jade with a orange one in between, and then another chip bead, another orange one, and then, so this is kind of a mirrored pattern right now. It is not nearly long enough for my bracelet, so I'm going to keep going with the same general shape and then tie it off that way. So I have room. If I need to move some things around, I can, but I'm kind of liking this. I think it's about time for another bamboo right here. Yeah. Because those mirrored each other. But I could also, no, because that would be too long. I can't make that the center of my bracelet. I was thinking about making this the center of my bracelet, but that would be too long of a design. So I'm just going to gently repeat motifs along here. It's not going to be perfectly symmetrical, but it's still going to feel cohesive. So I think that it's pretty. I think that that's a nice combination. And like I said, staying heavily green. In fact, I'm about to do more of the green by doing the bamboo here. I feel like it's time for another bamboo. then we'll do one of these and another chip. My husband looked at these and said they look like teeth. I'm like, okay. Let me see how close I am to my desired length for clasping, because my magnetic clasp isn't going to take up a whole lot of space, but I am going to need room for crimping and jump rings. Get my bracelet mandrel here. I got a bracelet mandrel and it's not just a flat piece of paper. And I'm just gonna see kind of where I am for 7.5 inches, which is usually what I go for. On my bracelet trios, I do have a tendency to make them, I need to make them just a little bit looser because they stack together. And you know, you need to have a little bit more space. So I think this is really close to where I want to end. I think that I am going to adjust this other end. Remember I had that extra jade? I'm going to take that one out of that end because I'm putting what I need here on this side, and I don't want to put another one of those and have it be too long, because like I said, I know what I'm going for and I want it to be a little bit longer, but I don't want it to be, no, actually, no. I am going to put it on this side. I'm just going to mirror that aspect on this side. I am. So that was another jade and another heishi, little antique copper hematite heishi. So we've got little bits of sparkle with those between, but this is mostly like very natural and organic looking, which is what I want. So, yep, that's going to be better. Awesome. So get another one of these guys. So we finish it, and like I said, this one is going to fit a little bit looser, but that's fine because it is going to be worn with 2 other bracelets most of the time. And as long as it doesn't roll off my wrist, I'm good. So that should be fine. I'm going to go ahead and crimp one end. I'm going to demonstrate the magical crimper on this first bracelet, but I'm probably not going to describe it in as much detail as I subsequently crimp, because I am going to be doing 6 crimps during this video. I will definitely do all of them on screen so you can watch the repetition, but I'm only really going to demonstrate on this first bracelet. And most of the demonstration is on this first crimp. There's one little thing I do differently when I'm doing the crimp on the other end. 2 things actually, and I will show you what they are when I do them. So this is a 2x2 crimp tube, and it is from Softflex. They have a really good thick wall, especially these copper ones. Look how thick that is. And there's no seam, so it's a very strong tube. This is meant to be used with 0.018 to 0.019 beading wire. The medium is 0.019. And it only works with 2x2 crimp tubes. The quality of your crimp tube does matter. These are the only crimp tubes Becky and I use, but I know that we have friends who use other ones. I don't recommend using any that look inconsistent or have thin walls or have seams. Just really make sure you've got good quality crimps. So what you do is you take, there's this spherical concavity inside, and you take your crimper and you center it inside that concavity. I'm making a very small loop because I'm using jump rings to attach my magnetic clasp. Yes, in case I need to change anything, I prefer to use the jump rings. They'll be small jump rings, but they'll be jump rings. So you just center it in there, and when it's centered, you just give it a little squish. And when you pull that out and take a look, you'll see that it's pinched down the 4 corners. It's not focusing of the crimp tube. So it looks a little bit more like a ravioli or a throw pillow, however you want to think about it. So then you take that crimp and you rotate it 90 degrees from where you were, so it's straight up and down inside your crimp tube. Again, make sure that it is centered and give it another squish. And then you just rotate this around and keep squishing until you don't have any more resistance. And what you get if you do that, is a smooth little ball of crimp that just looks like a bead. It just looks like a bead. And it's very strong. The most important thing for having a good quality crimp is making sure that you have enough volume in that. So between the wall of the crimp and the wire, it needs to reach a certain point, and then it's just like, it just turns into its magical little thing. I don't think that this is gonna fit through. I usually don't feed it back into the beads. Some people really like that. I generally don't, but that one actually did feed back through, so I'm gonna leave it. And then I'm just gonna curve this and check. I use the mandrel to check, but I'm also checking here. Yeah, that's gonna be a little bit loose, but I do like to wear them a little loose. So I'm just going to snip off enough wire here to loop back and make my crimp. Set the wire aside because we'll be using it again soon. And this is what there's two things I do differently when I'm on this side. The first thing is that I will feed this back through. I am going to go ahead and put the wire through that little bead like I did on the other side, and then I'm just going to snip it off on the other end. I don't normally do it. I don't feel like usually I have to, but it does help to center that. It does look more centered if you fed it back through. Sometimes it can look centered otherwise, but not always. So I'm making my loop match, and I'm curling my bracelet a little bit so it's got some slack. But do you see how close this crimp tube is to this crystal? I don't want to break that crystal. So I'm pushing my thumbnail between the crystal and the crimp tube and making myself get a little bit of room. So I get a little bit of room there so that when I use my crimper, I can make sure that that bead is clear of the crimper itself, because you don't want to crush your beads. A lot of times I'll have seed beads in that position. They're super easy to get crushed, and you just don't want to do that. So I do have this centered, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a squish. But instead of pulling it out, this is the second thing I do differently. I'm not going to pull it out and show you. I'm just going to open the crimping pliers. It's stuck. Okay, normally it doesn't pop back out, but because this was so full, it like kind of got a little bit toothy and it stuck to one of the concavities, which is actually a good sign. That's not anything that's gone wrong. Normally I'm going to pretend that I still had it closed. Normally I would open it just a little bit, rotate the crimp so that it's straight up and down, and, you know, then squish it again. Because what this does, and why this is a little bit different than the first time I demonstrated it, is if I don't have to remove the crimp from the pliers, I find that it's a lot easier to make sure that it stays centered if you're not pulling it out of the tool. So I was going to demonstrate that, but you'll see it when I do the other ones. I don't normally pull it away to make sure that I've got those raviolis. I only do it on the very first time when I'm demonstrating, so that I can show you what it looks like. Because I can feel that it's centered and that it's right, and if I don't need to do it, then I don't. So this is not a perfectly symmetrical pattern. It would have been too long if I did, but I feel like this still looks very nice. It feels balanced to me. Got some jump rings back here in this corner. I'm gonna go ahead and open one up. I've got one that's already open, but I don't know if that's also malformed. Let's find out. And it looks bigger than the other ones. So this is a very small jump ring. This is probably, it might even be a 3mm rather than a 4mm. It's small. But I don't need a large jump ring as long as my beading wire fits on one end, and it's a strong enough jump ring, and my magnetic clasp fits on the other. And I did just keep my magnetic clasp attached to itself because this is what it does. It tries to attach to the magnet. So if it wasn't already engaged against itself, that would be an even stronger hold. But it does make it a little bit finicky getting it attached. So then we've got our small jump ring. Make sure that that is nice and closed. It is important to make sure that it's closed metal to metal. And then we'll do that again on the other side. And then like I do when I'm wearing my Bracelet Trio, I'm just going to put that one on and I'm going to wear it while we make our next one. If I don't keep dropping jump rings. I like magnetic clasps, and I use them enough that some of my tools have started to like be magnetized. So I'm just curving the bracelet back around and attaching it so that that jump ring is going to fit naturally with that. Okay. All right. Okay. And I want the flower to be out. Yeah, this is pretty loose. Oh no, is it too loose? It can slide over my wrist. Okay. So what am I going to do to shorten it? I already used the smallest jump rings possible. I mean, it's mostly going to be worn with the other bracelets, and so farther up my arm. Let me look at it when it's like that. Because if you look at it as wearing it with a trio, that position is not bad, and that fit isn't tight. Because there's going to be another bracelet here and then another one here. So I'm going to leave it for now. If I need to restring this and shorten it a little bit, I'll just remove 1 or 2 of those extra jade beads. But in the meantime, I'm just going to keep wearing it while we move on to our second bracelet. So our second bracelet is going to be the more like vibrant fall tone stuff. And I'm going to start working in some of these rice beads because they've got, oh, I didn't do any rice beads in the first one. I was just so focused on that jade. It's okay. It's okay. We don't have to do rice beads and everything. We don't have to do anything in anything in all of them. We can just do what we want. But I'm going to use more of these. I'm going to use more oranges and reds. I'm going to move aside the bamboo beads because I feel like those are a feature for the first one. I'm going to go with the sparkle of the green. For our touch of green, I'm going to go with the sparkle of the green crystal on this one, and we're going to use more of the jade in the third one. But I think that these are the colors that I'm wanting to play with here. So it's mostly the reds and oranges with little touches of the green, and possibly a few of the wood chips as well. So same thing, I'm going to go ahead and start with one of the little pear-shaped crystals because they're so cute and I like them, and they're nice and tapered, so I like to put the point towards the end of the bracelet like this, and then that rounded end can be like a transition into other really fun things. So like if we did this, probably going to use a lot of the copper in this one as well. I didn't use it between every single bead in the first bracelet, but it might be here. Maybe one of these, yeah, one of these brighter colored ones. I'm just putting a few beads on my strand, and then we're going to take another look at it. That's why I'm not really showing you it all together, because I'm kind of gauging where and when I want to put other bits. I think I'm just about ready to put in a touch of green. So This is like the core of this bracelet. Okay. But then we're going to have these little pops of green. And maybe to kind of temper the green, that's where we'll also do the chip right up against that crystal. That's really close to the edge. Some of what we're playing with here. It's like this little section of green, and then we're going to do more of the orange and red and kind of this golden yellowy, like the brighter champagne colors from that. And these orange beads have green swirled through them as well, so there's like touches of green as well from that. I'm gonna see what I think about doing this without spacers between and see which one I like better. And I will redo whichever one is my least favorite. So this is how I started. And then this is with it. I like the look of this, but I feel like this is more what I was originally going for with this design. So I'm gonna do them like this. I have enough. I can, so I will. And then after that, just repeating those patterns. It's just 2 patterns, and I'm just placing them together. Get a little bit more on here and just check that things are how we want them. I thought I would be using more of these and I didn't. So I think because I'm only using these on the ends right now, I think I need to make sure I use them in that last bracelet that is going to be more like settled into fall. These are going to be the little pops of orange. These ones are going to be too big, but the other ones will be good for that, I think. That's the idea. And also, I just wasn't thinking about them, and I developed another pattern that I'd already settled on. I wanted this one to feel like a kind of a riot of color. I'm not seeing another one of those in the shade that I want. So I'm getting out a few more of the, because I know I've got them in here, a few more of the rice bead mix. So I could get some of these more brightly colored, almost yellow tones. Those are the ones that I'm doing in this bracelet. So, just kind of fun. I'm not sure what else I'm going to be making with this. I need to think about it. This is just my first project with this box so far, so I definitely have more that I can do. I don't think we're getting close to our point. Oh, we are getting close to our point. Are we too close to our point? That's the one thing about choosing like repeating patterns, is that sometimes they don't fit on a bracelet. And this is getting close to not fitting. So, oops. I don't have room to do another repeat of the rice beads. That's going to be too much. So I am looking at whether or not I want to pull that off the other end. Have I already gotten too long? I have not gotten too long. Get my mandrel back over here. Yeah, I haven't gotten too long, but I would be in danger of going too long. So I'm going to, but you know what? When it's all joined together, it's going to be like here. So that's not terrible. If we do this, because I don't want another bracelet that fits too loose. So this will be where the clasp is. So I don't think that that looks bad as far as whether or not you can repeat the pattern. It would just be impossible for me to do that, and I don't want to change the other side so much. But this is where I need to crimp and clasp. So I could, instead of doing a full section of these rice, I could instead, let me show you on this end, do like just the red. So what I would be removing from the other side would be if I did this on the other side, I would just be removing 2 rice beads and 2 heishis. Yeah, 2 rice beads and 2 heishis. So is a rice bead and 2 heishis, no, 2 rice beads and 2 heishis, is that enough to be right? I think it is. I think it is. We're going to try that. We are going to try it. I'm going to, instead of crimping this side, I'm just going to clip it. So if I want to make a change, if I make that change and I'm like, no, I need to add more, then I can still add on this side. So I'm just making sure that I have enough wire here to add or subtract any beads that I might need. So I'm giving myself a little bit of extra room and enough room to crimp. So I'm just going to snip it here. And I'm going to fiddle with this one just a little bit more, because this has been fine on my wrist. I like them to move freely. This one is a little bit too loose on its own, but if it's worn as part of a trio, I think it's going to be just fine. But I don't want all of them to fit that loose. So I need to be careful of how I do this. So if I take these off and remove 2 rice beads, 2 heishis, and then I put this on, have I shortened it too much is the question. Because this is too long. So I'm not sure what I would do differently if it's too short now. No, I think that's going to be better. That's going to be better. Okay, I'm going to crimp this side and then we'll do the other. So like I said, I'm not going to talk you through this demonstration, but I am going to go ahead and do it on camera so you can watch me. I like to tell stories with my jewelry when I can. Sometimes they're more complicated than others, like when I did the Egyptian necklace with all the symbolism and everything. This one is just a simple story of the seasons changing. That's all this one is. Just a simple story. want it to show that transition from a verdant summer to taking that snooze, the hibernation of winter, but before winter, like that last little gasp of autumn, where there's still tiny touches of color, but it's mostly subdued and settling into those earthy tones. Oh, I didn't snip it off on the last one. I did on this one, that's all right. But see, this is what I mean about how it's not really necessary. This is very centered anyway. And I cut it right at the crimp. So as long as you can cut it close, I don't feel like there's much benefit in putting it back through the beads. You certainly don't need to for the security of your strand, because the crimp itself is quite strong. And if it's not done right, you'll know right away. So I don't typically snip mine, or tuck them, rather. I'm trying to get this, get it through up here and then scooch it down. The one thing about the copper crimp tubes is they are the ones with the thickest wall. So they are stiffer to get your second strand through, and I think they're the only ones that you can't usually fit a third strand. Most of the other soft flex crimp tubes, you can fit a third strand of the medium wire. But the copper one is no. The copper one is a no. All right, so I've got just a little bit of give, and I've got my loop about where I want it. See, the thing is, if I make this just a touch too short, I can always adjust that by using either larger jump rings or additional jump rings. So that to me is a little bit easier to fix than something that's too long where you don't want to sacrifice part of your pattern. Because I'm a pattern kind of girl. But I wanted to do something just kind of simple with these. I could have cut into the check strand and had some other like leaves and shapes to work with, but I just wanted this cascade of color, you know. This is bracelet number 2, and look how great that's going to look next to bracelet number 1. Let's get this clamped. Where did my, oh, they're over there. I set my magnetic clasps aside because they were, you know, they like to attach to everything, guys, like everything. And so I set them aside, and then I couldn't find them. Because isn't that just the way? All right, get one of these guys. Attach that clasp. See, these are a little bit bigger than when I do my bracelet trios, except for the last one. Those were also big magnetic clasps. I usually do very tiny clasps because then they just kind of hide in the design. But I didn't have any of them in the right color that were that size, and so I decided that I would embrace the shape for this design. That's what's going on here. But it is a little bit of an adjustment when I'm planning and clasping, because the clasp itself does take more room than I'm used to. And so it's important to make sure that I've got the space that I need without having too much space. Sorry, back on camera. When I'm working on something that's a little bit fiddly, I have a tendency to pull it close to my body. I think we all do that. But it does make it difficult to demonstrate when you are doing things on camera. just making sure that that's good and closed. And then opening this bracelet and attaching it with this one. So we've got our, and they like to attach to each other, our little flowers. But this is the first and second bracelet. What do you guys think so far? I think this is fun. I do think that this first bracelet is too loose. I may end up restringing it and just remove a jade from each side. But I can do that when I'm not on camera with you guys, because I've got one more bracelet to make. And that one took a little bit longer to adjust. And so I'm afraid we're going to have another slightly longer video than I usually do. Well, these ones do usually run a little, they run close to an hour. Okay, here's where we're going to use more of these kind of taupe and earth tones with little bits of these apricot colored pears. Apricot colored pears. Move these other crystals away. These guys, between these two crystals, will have plenty of flash. I want some of those earthier tones back in here. So we're going to put in a few more of the Jade. So these are the colors that I'm working with for my third bracelet. And just like the other two, I'm going to start with the little pair friends. I just want to use them throughout as well. So let's see what speaks to me on this one. Getting in here with the taupe. And then I've liked using the Jade, like bracketing the wood chips, but I'm going to play around with something different on this one. I may return to that depending on how it looks. Because with these little pear-shaped ones, they are pear-shaped, so they're a little plump on one end. And so the direction you string them on does matter for your pattern. So I'm kind of playing with this idea for having this be kind of like more of my core part of this necklace, so that, or necklace bracelet. Well, it can be a necklace. It can be a necklace in a couple of different shapes and sizes. And then maybe what we do is we take then a wood chip, the bamboo, or not bamboo, coconut wood, and then snug, instead of the Jade bracketing the wood, I'm going to bracket the Jade with the wood. Let's see how that looks. So it definitely will work in more wood on this bracelet. So that'll be like our little hint of green every so often. And then I'm just using, looks like I'm using the copper on either side of each of the taupe crystals is where those are getting used. And when I'm doing these pairs, I'm putting the pointy side toward the chip that's between them. So I put the fat bottom side first, and then a chip, just so we have like kind of some jagged edges. You know, you see bare branches, things start to look a little bit jagged at the end of autumn. And then let's get another taupe to separate. I'm going to get a little bit more of this strung, and then we're going to hold it up and see if I like it. It definitely has more end of season color right now than our more vibrant middle bracelet or the verdant first bracelet. All right, I'm gonna pull this up. So this is how I started the bracelet here. So this is where basically my pattern starts, is with the taupe on either side. I've got too many beads behind. But we still get the pops of orange and occasional green with that jade. But this is mostly those earth tones. Which does, of course, mean it's less exciting for me. I don't really do great with earth tones, but I'm trying to tell a story with this, and that makes it easier for me to work with it. And I am, you know, giving myself permission to use those pops of color throughout this design. And also the really cool coconut wood chips, because they are cool and they add a lot of really neat texture to this bracelet. Again, just kind of reminding us what we've got and then where we're headed with this. Wires caught on the edge of my beading mat. See, they feel like they can all go together, but they're definitely, they hit different tones. They hit different tones. So when I make my bracelet trios, they are designed to be convertible jewelry. So using all the same magnetic clasps means that you can take them and combine all three into it's going to be roughly a 22-inch necklace, or you can separate them and have like two of them that you wear as like a choker, and a third one on your wrist, or, you know, stack them as we showed. Also playing around with it, because they're all the same clasp as well, you could put them all together and then actually wear it as a wrap bracelet. So my problem with one of these being a little bit longer would then no longer be a problem, would it? Oh, guys, this one is almost perfect as far as length goes. I'm going to finish out this side of the pattern to mirror what we've already got. It's got the 3 sections of green. So this is if we did the center here, and I just have to put on 2 crystals and a spacer between them. So a taupe crystal, a hematite spacer, and then the apricot pear-shaped one. All right, checking the length. I'm close to finishing this in an hour. I wonder if I can wrap up in an hour. This one is a touch too short, so I think that I'm going to add to each side I don't know. It's only a tiny bit too short. Like, no, actually, it's probably right. Again, what I said about if it's too short, I can use larger jump rings or additional jump rings. And this one with the clasp, like when I actually compare it to the space that these take on my wrist, this is actually really close, and I'd rather not mess with that too much. So, getting this one in. Let me, just because it is close, and if I can end this video under an hour, then YouTube will automatically translate it and do a dubs for our international friends. So let me pause this. Now, I did promise you I'd show you all the crimps. They won't take long. They won't take long. I will pause when I clear up my mat, though, because normally I just grab all the beads and shove them up, but I'll pause when I do that part. But this is just a matter of crimp, snip, scoot, another crimp. That way you'll see all of my crimps. I'll pause to attach the clasp and clear up my beads, and then I'll show you all of it together. As we do, come on, if I don't have to fight with getting that second side through. Sometimes if you're having a hard time gripping it, you can just grab that with your pliers and pull. There we go. Got it past whatever it was stuck on. All right. All right. I will do a quick crimp. And I will be right back. Look, no adjustments needed. That one fit perfectly, perfectly. So let me get these all off so that we can look at all of them together and finish this up. We've got, that's number 3, number 2, and then our first one right here. Here. And you can see that one is a little bit longer. I may shorten, like I said, I may shorten that one later, but these are all really great. So the way that these work as convertible jewelry is that they'll just, oh, maybe. I didn't think about that. I can't actually use these as convertible jewelry because these magnets, the wrong ones are attaching. These are not how they're meant to. They're attaching. So this one is like flower and back, and then this one is flower, flower. I can't actually do all of them flower and back. The idea is to be able to wear this necklace in any configuration, whichever one, and then have it be slightly symmetrical, asymmetrical on the other side, or to combine them and wear one as a choker. That apparently doesn't work as well with these guys. Do these two attach? Okay, so these two attach. I'll have to experiment with that. But I could wear this as a choker and then have this as a bracelet. So that's the idea. We're just going to get all these bracelets out. This may not work as convertible just because of the clasp that I chose. Usually my clasps are neutral. Which side is which, because they're the same no matter which side it is, but these ones are not the same. So we've got 1, 2, and 3, and this is going to be just a touch long, but check the description for a link to Didi's Deluxe Beads on the website. Join her Facebook group so that you know what's coming, and I love this. I hope you liked it. If you liked it, hit like. If you want to see more, subscribe. And if you like, just let me know what you think. Like I said, this one, you can tell it's a little bit bigger than the other ones, but these other ones fit perfectly. I'm going to fix it later. Anyway, I hope you have a great time. As always, happy beading, and don't forget to play. Bye, friends.